Hello everyone, welcome back to the Java tutorials. These tutorials are brought to you by CDAP Technologies and Services. In this video, we are going to see another example of the Java socket programming, but the difference is that in the previous video, what example we saw was that the client was sending a request and a message to the server. The server was just displaying that message. Right. In this video, we are going to perform the reading and the writing on the both sides. That means the client will send a message to the server and the server will send a message to the client which the client needs to write. Right. So first of all, let us just make some changes into our new client file. This time what we are going to do is we are just going to make some changes and we are going to perform the operation with the help of the port number 3333. Okay, so the data output stream object is going to be same. We are just going to create an object of the data input stream right now. Okay, so what we can do is we can just write data input stream, let's say din, and let's initialize it with data input stream, and the constructor that we're going to provide is going to be s dot get input stream, right, like this. Then what happens is we are just going to create another class, that is buffered reader class. So buffered reader, let's say br equals new buffered reader, and in it we are just going to provide an instance of this input stream reader system.in, that is the standard input. So system.in, right, like this. Then what we are going to do is we are basically going to create two string variables. So string, it's going to be str, and let's initialize it with a null value initially, and str2, let's initialize it with a null value as well. So what we are basically going to do is we are going to get the input, and whatever input we have, we are just going to write it on the server side, while whatever input we get from the server side, we are just going to write it on the client side. So for this, the code we need to write is going to use a while loop. So let's just use a while loop, that is in this string, while if not str dot equals, we have keyword say stop, we are just going to read the lines. So we can just write it like this. Str equals br dot read line. Then we are just going to copy all of these things, and instead of this message, we are just going to write whatever is the contents of this strr into our server side, right? We can just copy this thing, or we can just remove it from here and we can paste it in the while loop, because it is a possibility that there must be multiple lines, so we need to just write them again and again, and we again need to flush it. Then in the second string, that is str2, what we are going to do is we are going to get a message from the server. So we will be using this d in, or yeah, so we'll be using this d in dot read UTF method to read whatever the server has sent the message, and finally we can just print it using this print command, that is system.out.println, and we can just print this str2, that is whatever the server is saying to us. That's what we are going to print, right? Finally, we are just going to close this two things, that is the data output stream object and the socket. So what is happening is we are just going to write some things on the standard output, that is what will be taken by the new client. So let us just save it. Now what we're going to do is make some changes into our server class as well. So we can just go to find our server class. Here it is, new server, right? We can open it and let's just make some changes into our new server class as well. So basically, first of all, we need to change our port number from 6666 to 3333. Then we need to accept the request from the client with the data input stream object. We also need to create an object of the data output stream, because not only reading but the writing also needs to be performed. So let's just write here as data output stream, and let's just name it as dout and data output stream here as well. Okay, here also we need to create an object of the buffered reader class, and basically whatever changes we made in our client file, we are just going to make it in the server file as well. So I'm just going to quickly make some changes and meet you after the changes have been made. So these are some of the changes that have been made into the file, that is the buffered reader object has been created. It is going to accept the input, then whatever the input is, it is just going to provide it to the client side. So in str2 it is going to read it in a form of a line by line fashion, then write it on using this write UTF command, and finally clear the buffer memory. While in str, what we are going to see is we are just going to read whatever the contents of this str are and just print it as the client message. Then finally we are just closing it all. So let's just save it as well. Let's go back to our command prompt. Here let us just clear it up using the CLS. So whenever you write CLS, all the command will be cleared, right? Here we execute the new client, but before creating the client we need to create the server. So what we can do is we can just use this new server file. This time we are not going to check for the client because we know the client file is going to be created as we had the previous experience. So there is an exception. Let's see what exception or error we are getting, and let's resolve it quickly. Right, so now what we're just going to do is try to execute it. Okay, there is, I think, a spelling mistake again. Let's see. Yeah, so there is the spelling mistake. Let's just rectify it correctly. Right, so now our server class has executed. Let us just write Java new server. Right, now here what do we need to do is just execute our Java's client file. So Java new client dot Java, and then we want Java new client. So it is expecting some input from us. This is a Java file, and whatever input we provide on the client side, it will simultaneously be written on the server side, line by line fashion. So you can just write, you can just see it over here. Now whatever you want to create on the server side, it would be taken to the client side, like hello client, and you can just write this stop, and that's how it's going to work. So here, that's all for this video, in which we developed this kind of a chat application between the client and the server in Java. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching.